Kia ora, I'm Elvie and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of all the artwork I have produced during my first semester at visual at art school. So basically I'm going for my Bachelor of Visual Arts, and this is what I've done. And so and last time I showed you what I did in Methodology part 1. These are part of the first 2 rotations we have done so far. So this is printmaking, and we've got painting over there as well. So yeah, we each get a week with all the rotations, and the first one we did was printmaking, so we'll go through those first. We did quite a few things for printmaking, as that's kind of how printmaking rolls. You do a lot of prints of things. The first thing we did was mono printing, so we covered a board with ink and put a piece of paper on it, and then on the other side kind of drew in pencil the lines we wanted, and then when you flipped it over, the ink showed up and got printed onto the paper. So this is looking at my model. So my model was my friend Alika. So that was not the first one. That was actually the last one of that type of mono printing we did. The first one we couldn't see, so we looked up the whole time as we kind of drew, so that's why it's a little wonky. I still love it, I'm not gonna lie. Love the face. The face turned out quite good. This was good, and then I just went too short over there. But overall, I'm quite happy with it, considering I couldn't see what I was doing. Same with this one as well. I'll just take that out. Yeah, I started here, came down, and then when I just went up, I went too low and then connected it all. But I still like it, and it was very fun, and I couldn't see. This was my first attempt at drawing Alika, but it didn't look like her at all. It looked good, but it didn't look like her. So I restarted, but I decided to keep this just to show progress, and yeah. So those are all the first mono printings. These are the next one. So we'll start at the start this time. This one is the start. Okay, so we did the same thing. It's a different type of mono printing. So same thing, covered a board in ink, and instead of putting a piece of paper down and pressuring it like with the pencil behind it, instead we directly wiped away from the board, and then put a piece of paper on there and then printed it afterwards. So you can kind of see the wiping away, and it leaves quite interesting line work, and it's kind of more dramatic. You know, you get a lot more darks and blacks in this version. So this is the first one, first tester. My first victim was Alika. The rest are self-portraits using a mirror. So yeah, the first one I did was this one. I actually quite like it. It's grown on me, and I really love this wispy hair that I always have somehow flowing away. Little bits I like this highlight here is quite nice, as well as the highlight in the eye and the chin I quite like. Overall it's alright, could be better, could be worse, you know. Then I tried a different technique for the next one, which was, instead of using a cloth to wipe away, I used a piece of cardstock on its side and kind of like dragged it along, kind of creating these interesting lines with the black still there, and kind of, you can definitely see it in the face, all these kind of like lines and jolted actions. I quite like it. It turned out alright. It's not my favourite, but I'm not too mad with it, you know. It was quite interesting looking and seeing what it did. And then this one is the final one. I actually don't like this one at all, and that's just because I got the proportions incorrect. I got them incorrect on most of them, but this one particularly, the eyes are too close together. But I mean, in some ways I really like it. Like, I love this highlight right here, and then the hair, once again, I love the whiskiness of it. So those are the mono printing. I also attempted to do a little interesting thing up the corner, but next was these. There are quite a few of them. and that was the point. So all of these were done, like, there's an original print. I wonder if I think I threw the original print I had left away. So originally started with the silhouette, and then we just kept adding and adding to it, layering it up to see what would happen. This one is one of the couple that I put dried and non-dried plants on. This one had the dried plants, so you can still see some of them kind of stuck on there, but that's my self-portrait, because the focus of this printmaking thing was self-portrait. That was the name. You can interpret it in any other way, like your favorite, like something that represents you, a place that represents you, or just your self-portrait. Depends how you wanted to take it. So that's the first one. Move on to the second one. I actually use a bit of mono printing for this one in this line work, just to add something to it. But I can see where my line work was, so it's a bit askew, but I don't mind that. Like, it just adds something. Got lots of swirls, so you can kind of see that on the back. And then we have this one, which is really hard to show on camera, but it's a very faint print with very faint outline. But I actually really like it for its subtleness. You can kind of see the portrait there, and then the dried plants up here. I really like it. Next we have this one, which is kind of a bit of a collage, cutting out some bits and bobs, and this portrait, I drew some Sharpie over it just to give it a bit of line work. I don't mind it, it's alright. This technique overall was not my favourite. It's my least favourite of the... Oh, there's a leaf that came off. Random. Just put that aside. So yeah, the real, like, the non-dried plants stuck to the this one, so it was a little bit interesting, and then it ripped a bit here because it was quite dried plants. Non-dried plants are really wet, so it stuck to the paper and it ripped it away, but I ended up just drawing a little portrait, sticking it on here, and that's how it turned out. So yeah, moving on to something I actually really enjoy, etching. So I've done a few etchings. I've got the plastic still. I wonder if I can... You can kind of see it, yeah. So I can actually use those again to print something a couple more times before it doesn't hold the ink as well anymore. So the last one I did, going out of order once again, is this one. I love it. I love the dramatic glare, the judgmental look it gives you. These are all me, by the way, but some funky angles, if you couldn't tell. I love it. I love this eye particularly, and the nostrils. It's so funny. It's beautiful. It's just disgusted and judgmental. This one over here is a bit more funky. It was a weird photo reference to begin with. My first attempt was this one over here. So you can see it's got a nice mid-tone, but ink didn't quite set in the lines. So I did a different one, which turned out alright, and then the final one, the paper was too wet, so it left a spickly look, but much darker lines, so it's good. So yeah, it was, as much as etching is about like getting the lines right, it's also about inking it up. So as you can see, it really matters how you ink it up, is how it's going to affect the overall print. Anyway, moving on, we have the Tetra Paks. I don't have the original Tetra Paks because they were still inky, so I decided to throw them out because they would never dry unless I printed them out over and over again, getting off, and I was like, I don't need them that badly. But we used the inside of lifelong milks, so like it's quite tinfoily and stuff, so it's quite waterproof. And yeah, we use them to cut into and leave some marks. I think this one's also still not dry. One of my favorites. Another judgmental. This one's more angry, but basically I peeled away the tinfoil waterproof layer to the cardboard, and that meant I got quite a nice dark silhouette in all the dark silhouette areas. This is probably one of my favorites. I love it. like the etchings. And then we've got 3 attempts of the cat. This one was the first attempt, way too dark, trying to get the printing technique right, because once again it's similar to etching but also quite different, so it really matters how you print it up, ink it up, sorry. But yeah, this one's quite funny because it looks like it's nighttime and the cat's just staring into your soul. The eyes, I really like how I captured them, and you can still tell it's in a box somewhere staring into your soul. The next one was far too light, so a different effect. So this is when you turn the light switch on and you're like, oh, it's just my cat in a box, it's fine, she's not gonna hurt me. So that was printed directly after the last one. And then the final print was me cutting away the rest of the Tetra Pak, just leaving the cat, and it's got this whole page to itself because it's an entitled cat, you know. And once again, I love the eyes and how that came out. So that's the final print, and then we move on to painting, which is under the bed still. Oh, we also gave each other feedback and everything. If you want to pause it, you can read it. They were very kind, very loving. So painting was the next rotation my group did, and we basically focused on colour and what would happen if you mixed it with black and white, and cool greys versus warm greys, ultramarine to burnt sienna, complementary colours, so green to red, and then that's a swatch for the Van Gogh painting I replicated. Basically, so that was the next task, was replicating a famous painting with lots of colours in it. I'm actually really proud of this. Turned out quite well. I'll give you a close-up, that's how proud I am. Like, it took so long, and my reference photo was actually terrible because I took a photo from a book. So, taking a photo from a book is not going to give you the correct colours. I thought it was more of a brown colour, but then I googled it and it's actually really yellow, this field. But it's okay, I'm quite happy with it still. It's very pleasing to look at and I'm very proud of myself for it. So I'll just chuck that on the side. Next, I'll show you this one first, because originally there was a pile. We did 4 kind of sketches. This was the one we did on newsprint. If I can kind of show you. So we did live sketches of people from our course. So we're all in a room drawing each other from life. This is the tester, because after that we did ones on this more solid paper. This is my favourite. So it was with charcoal, and then after that we used acrylic paint and a glazing medium to make it very light so you could still see the charcoal and the lines in the painting. So that's a really cool technique to use. And we each used 3 different types of palettes. So this is, did I write it on the back? No, I did not, but this is split complementary, split complementary, so orange, green and purple, and it's really pretty. I like it. I love his beard. He was a really good model in general, like really interesting to draw with his hat, glasses and beard, like solid. Next we have this one. These are all from life, so they're not the greatest. That one's a bit scary. There we go. And I've still got the glue tack on the back. So this is, did I write it on the back? I did, very faintly. So this is, this one's split complementary. What was the other one then? I have no idea what the other one is then. It might be a triad. No, the other one's a triad. So that's a triad. This is split complementary. So green, blue, and red. A little bit of Christmas vibes. I like how the skin turned out. If you look here, you can see it without the disturbing eyes. But from here, it looks really nice. And I was getting more used to the technique because the first one, this is the first attempt of using the medium, and I was not used to it at all, and she became a little scary and you lost a little line work in it. But yeah, this is analog. I can never say it. It's like analog. I didn't write it on the back. Oh yes, I did. Oh, yeah. Analog tree. It's a type of, so that all the colours are like right next to each other on the colour wheel. So they're all really nice together. Last things we did was abstract paintings. This is really big. It's A2. Giving it a composition, like a focal point, and then just kind of bordering it off so you're not overwhelmed when you look at it, was kind of the focus. This is actually 3D. I used I think it's modeling paste or something. I don't know. It's like a medium you can add to acrylic to make it pop out of the page. So it's quite fun. It's really spiky though. And that was oil pastel over there. So we were given greens, blues and oranges, so that's split complementary palette for this. And the next one we were also given a split complementary. Oh, that's heavy. So this is the next one. Again, there's a focal point, kind of calming blocks of colours around it, kind of framing the splatter. So this is purple, green and yellow kind of colours for the split complementary palette, and that's the last thing we did. And now we're on break, so it's brilliant. And so that's what I've done so far in the first semester, and thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was interesting to some extent, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!